Welcome to You Can't Make This Shit Up. I'm your host, Will Hockley, and in the beautiful state of Lincoln, David Washington.
All
Randy,
right, all right, all right. Thank you, sir.
I guess I should tell them that at least I'm at the Oxford. I'm at the Oxford Sports Pub and Secret Society here in Altamont Springs. Come on, enjoy the food. Come join us. And if you're in Chicago, get a deep dish pizza and popcorn because I know that's what you're craving.
Illuminati's, always Illuminati's. There's one 10 minutes away. There, I already had my Garrett's mixed popcorn and got sick on
Damn,
Wednesday. Oh no, Tuesday. Ate too
damn.
much. I pigged out, ate too much. It was totally on my diet, but it was so good.
But
So
David,
good.
you were supposed to get them to sponsor us, so
Ah.
that way we can say it was so good I got sick, and they can go, well, you're not putting that on here. David,
Well, yeah,
it's funny because it we talk like this, but we just talked about a win.
yes.
Right? We talk about wins and we talk about losses. DeSantis, we're going to talk about some legal losses that have started
Yeah.
mounting on the DeSantis governorship. I mean, we got to now. I got to be careful because it's campaigning and there's governorship. But what's going on with all these losses, David?
There was a federal judge recently, and we talked a little bit about this, that blocked a new federal election law pushed by the Republicans that puts restrictions on voter registration groups, calling it Florida's latest assault on the right to vote. That's the quote: Florida's latest assault on the right to vote. Uh, Chief District Judge Mark Walker granted a preliminary injunction against the law just days after it went into effect. And so, while Governor Ron DeSantis gallivants across the, GOP primary states, just, you know, boasting of his legislative victories, his legislative victories are not holding up in court, and that's a problem when you're running for president of these United States and you're hoping to make America Florida. Joel.
Well, David, this is one of those things that I don't necessarily agree with the judge. This is his first. This is his first battle, right? It's not its second battle. It's not. It's not. It's going to be appealed. I mean, this is really just holding the those people that are gathering petitions accountable, like giving a person a receipt for their registration to say, hey, this is what you registered for, so you don't get surprised when the supervisor, when I talk to my daughter and say, hey honey, you're not party, you have no party. And she goes, no, I'm a Republican. I know I'm a Republican because you were there when I registered. And I'm like, yeah, well, you must have done something along the line that changed that. And she's like, blindsided. So I mean, if you look at the legislation, I think this
Right,
judge
which
is
we have.
overreaching. I'm just
Well,
thinking he's overreaching. He's just this is one of those things where they feel their power, they throw their 2 cents in, and then they can get auditioned for the Supreme Court later on down the road.
in the magnificent reporting by the Tennessee Democrat, um, Judge Walker pointed out that parts of Senate Bill 7050 prevented non-U.S. citizens from collecting or handling voter registration applications, and that the judge said, the free state of
Again,
Florida is simply not. Wait. The free state of Florida is simply not free to exceed the bounds of the United States Constitution.
yeah,
This is
but
what he
David, you have
said.
to back up because they didn't hear you.
Uh oh. Okay.
So
Where
you got
where
to back up.
do?
The reason I wasn't interrupting you, I was basically
Oh,
saying I was going to kind of help you along till you came back in about the citizen. So start from, you know, this legislation.
uh oh. We're paused. I guess I'm still going live. So, but the studio. is not hearing me. Okay, I see that you're back. I know I see that there was a pause. I
Yeah.
guess I'm still going.
No, go ahead. So
Oh, so,
just
so
start where you said it was the immigration part.
okay, so Judge Walker essentially said that the Florida is going beyond the bounds of the U.S. Constitution and restricting non-residents, non-citizens to collect voter registration. That is allowable. There is no
Why was that?
restriction to do that.
Why is it so? So Donald Trump goes all of these all these years in his presidency about Russia, 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 Russia. So if we just have every single Russian come over here to Florida and decide to pass out, voter registration to influence the election, that's not a problem, David.
How does how
Because
does
that's not a problem.
registering people to vote um,
You've
influence
got
an election?
you got their undivided attention, right? And you don't
Okay.
know what they're doing out there. You don't have a video. I mean, you make police officers wear a video camera, well, and these
Well,
people are out there asking people to register.
well,
You're telling me 100% of them aren't asking them to register in a certain party or register for a reason, David?
Joel, you have to remember.
You're saying these people are not citizens. So the same law that applies to other countries applies to them because they're an ambassador of their country. They are
Well,
going to influence those petitions for their country. So I'm going to back
well,
off.
well.
I'm trying to different perspective.
There is oversight. And let's take your example. Let's say a bunch of Russians are registering or want to register as third-party registrants, and that's what they are. These organizations that come in and want to register citizens are allowed to do that with oversight by the Florida Division of Elections. They have to register as third-party registrants. My former consulting business, we registered as a third party registrant so that we could collect voter registration forms during events. My political committee was registered as a third party registrant, and there was certain rules that we had to follow. And so we had to identify every time who was registering. We had to put our specific register code on each and every form so that when we collect the forms, we put our code, our identifier on the forms and submit them. The state keeps track of those particular documents. Now, there's a new law in this particular bill, I believe, that makes that provides more protections for those who register to vote. Those who are registrants, I believe there's a provision where they have to register each and every individual who is being paid to collect voter registration forms and be notified. They must be on record. They must register with the state. So I agree with the new protections that were put in place. Some of them, I like the fact that we are identifying those paid canvassers or those paid registers, who they are, and also timeframes that were put in place where an organization, a third-party registrant organization, has to submit that information
We're not doing
as a
any,
timely fashion.
but we're not doing anything because some judge decided that because the state of Florida decided that Spanish, French, Mexican, um, uh, yeah, that are living here in our country
Okay.
that do not have citizenship in our country could persuade others. That's all they're saying. They're saying, look, if a country can't persuade us or interfere with our elections, we don't want immigrants in our country to have that same power.
Well,
That does it for me. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just trying to put into perspective. Democrats beat up Donald Trump because Russia was involved in our elections, and they did it digitally.
Correct.
Okay, and some of that digital work was on registering voters. Okay, that's why these things happen. And now we want to fight. Oh yeah, you won because of this, because of that. And now we're going to go because you don't want to do that. Now you want to throw a monkey in their wrench. Like we want to stop them from doing it.
I believe, and I'm not certain, I believe that some of the protections or some of the provisions in this particular bill that that Judge Walker did not address and found that they were sound, legally sound, provides, again, those added protections. And remember, a third party organization put their legal status, their non-for-profit status or profit status into jeopardy if they screw around with this particular process. The governor is coming, the DeSantis administration is coming down hard on voter registration, voter fraud, and things like that. That this has been one of the hallmarks of his administration.
So
Let's
Dave,
move.
I'm gonna give you your audience, your Democrat audience, something to really get excited about, because the majority of voter fraud in the state of Florida has been done by whom? That answer is Republicans. Like I'm
You
just
said
gonna say,
true.
it. I'm gonna put it out there
True.
because I monitor this, right? I
It's true.
focus on this, but I do know there is Democrats. There are harvesting and there's all this other stuff going on. But when in Lake County somebody uh, somebody was using their influence and doctoring these things, they were related. They had a relationship with Randy Ross, so everybody was like, "Oh, maybe Randy's going to go to jail." Da da da. Listen, it was a Republican that was breaking the law, and there's many more. I'm just pointing that one out because it's local. I mean, Lake County is just next door,
Right.
and it's Republicans trying to, it was Republicans at that time trying to do what? Oh, they forgot to sign it. So this is, it's not big deal, right? It's a big deal, but not. All this person did was put dates on,
Right. Right.
and you
That's
can't do
no.
that.
Right. Let's go on to our next law that DeSantis and the Republican legislature passed that the court said, nice try, but no. This would be Florida's drag show law that was blocked June 23rd of this year. And this was Senate Bill 1438. Although the bill does not specifically use the word drag show, but uses the word adult live performances.
Adult live performances. Yep.
Yes, it has been seen as targeting the LGBTQ community. And as we stated in the previous podcast, Hamburger Mary's in Orlando, we've all been there. Great food, great portions of food, good food, and great drag shows. Hamburger Mary's challenged it, and a federal court blocked it for being overly vague and unconstitutional. Joel?
Look, this is one of those things that, the only reason it's be called the drag, bill is because you connect a law that's being created to a situation where the governor was very vocal about, listen, you can't have this Christmas show with young kids in presence. And then they got pushed back, and they said, okay, well, that's fine. If you do it, we're just going to take your liquor license. Okay. Because
Yeah.
it's just wrong. Now on this, I'm going to say my word. I've said my word on this one. I don't believe that we have the right to, how do we put it? Listen, these businesses are run independently. The government doesn't run these businesses. That they oversight these businesses. So the judge on this one, I think, is saying, you need to you can come up with the same legislation, just be specific, because you
Yeah.
need to be specific. You can say, okay, if you want to do pole dancing, you can do pole dancing as long as they're fully dressed and they're not stripping, right? There's two different things. Pole dancing's still erotic, right?
Well, it's considered an exercise also.
Right.
It's considered aerobic. It's
That's why
mainstream.
I think that's why I'm making a point of this, right? So that would be considered adult entertainment, and that's
Mhm.
where, and it would be exercise. It could be. They need clarification. So I'm going to agree with the court on this one.
Right.
You're going to come up with a law. You need to be specific. It's not like you can say,
Right.
porn. I know it when I see it. No, no,
Right.
bullshit. You need to let them know ahead of time what's wrong and what's right.
Right. I think, I mean, you could classify walking into a Hooters restaurant. They're considered not servers, but performers. I mean, can I bring my, 12-year-old into a Hooters for, some wings and not fear that, the culture cops will come and say, hey, this ain't right.
Only my
Um,
wife scolded me.
or or those child beauty pageants that weirds me out. I mean, that if there's a exploitation of children that the conservatives are so concerned about, I think they should be looking at these, at the
Let's stay,
child
let's stay,
beauty
let's stay
beauty
focused.
pageants.
Let's
that,
stay,
that
let's stay.
I understand, but look at that, folks. I mean, really, look at that, and also Bible vacation school and these Bible studies with children, and we can go down a
No,
very
we can, but
very
it's
dark.
really simple,
Yeah,
David. I think overreach was definitely noticeable in this bill.
exactly.
You need to make sure that you are very specific,
Correct.
and this is this was wrong. They should have known this was going to get pushed back.
June 21st, court strikes down a Medicaid ban on gender care. U.S. District Judge Robert Hinkle declared that Florida's 2022 rule and statute that prohibited Medicaid payment for transition care for transgendered people, such as puberty blockers, hormone therapy, surgeries, violates the federal Medicaid statute, the Equal Protection Clause, and the Affordable Care Act's prohibition of sex discrimination. Well, the judge said gender identity is real. The record makes this clear.
Like we
This
say, politicians can't make these type of decisions, and judges can't make these kind of decisions. This is let's get doctors to really do this, and let's make sure that people understand that this was to protect children from mutilation.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different things, like letting people go through puberty. Oh, we got to block puberty because the person didn't know what their gender was. Listen, I just so want to say, I want these people, these young kids, to be healthy. I do want them to be able to express who they are the way they want to be. But I
it,
don't believe the percentage of people doing this
correct.
is it should be a non-issue. But I want to protect them. I do. I want legislation to protect them, and using tax dollars to supplement something like this is
Hmm.
is just like all these LGBT communities
Well,
bitching that kids are going to schools paid for by, you know,
mhm.
you can't have it both ways. Either they're going to go to school with religious, you know, doctrine that doesn't allow LGBT on it. Now you're
Mhm.
basically saying that, you're going to spend your tax dollars on something you disagree with. So
Well,
let's go right to the heart of it. This is hypocrisy on both sides. This is
Well,
hypocrisy on both sides.
well, Judge Hinkle also earlier in the month of June, June 6th, as a matter of fact, blocked, placed an injunction, preliminary injunction on Florida's ban on gender affirming care, which you just talked about. And so all this is going to be debated in court, and it's going to
It's going to
be
Supreme Court.
right. The access to medical care for transgendered children. Um, again, the constitutionality is going to be debated in court. Another one of the bans or injunctions goes back to what we talked about before a number of times. The 15-week abortion ban was temporarily stopped.
The
Um,
6 week.
Uh, yes. Well,
6 week.
I'm going back to
The
right. I'm
15
going
was challenged. The 15 was challenged, but it was
right.
never, the 15 never got blocked from implementation.
Uh, Actually, yes, you're right. The 6 week ban passed in 2023. The Supreme Court
That
has
one,
been slow to address the 15-week ban, and
right.
so you know, uh, the there's a ban. This is so legally screwed up. Until the 15-week abortion ban is addressed by the Florida Supreme Court, the 6 week ban on abortion, on most abortions, will go into effect if the court decides that the 15-week ban is constitutional.
I mean, but is there a stay against the state on this? Because I would have to look.
There, there is a temporary injunction
Okay.
on the 15-week ban, and because of that injunction, the 6 week ban is the stricter 6 week ban is stayed until the decision's made on the 15th week.
Well, this is what happens when, I mean, this is all about state constitution though. So this is not
Hmm.
going, this is exactly where it's supposed to be for me. Roe v. Wade, back to the state. State's trying to make a decision. Now we're trying to find out if it's against our privacy clause in our constitution. So I want those that watch us to understand this is not a federal thing. This is a state thing. And that the state is looking at our state constitution to see if it's legal or not. So that's why the decision on the 6 week has to wait on the 15 week, because if the 15 week is unconstitutional, most likely that would force the 6 week to be unconstitutional.
All right. Okay.
So I do like that you bring that up, because
So, I'll let you make your final word. I'll make my final word, and we'll wrap up.
my final word is simple. That simply that these judges, they they have political agendas, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Look, let's 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 do the right thing, and the right thing is legislature. Make sure you're being specific on what you're asking for,
Correct.
and courts, make sure you let people know why you're doing what you're doing. I mean, just that's it. I this is crazy stuff.
Right. Um, the courts are exercising their authority, their responsibility as part of government. Their responsibility as part of government. They are to rule on the constitutionality of laws. It's part of the checks and balances.
Madison versus Marbury.
Bingo. And so I applaud the decisions that were made, as Joel stated, as we've stated earlier, specifics. If you're going to pass a law, be specific. And perhaps it was a lot of these laws were left vague, to be challenged in court and to get a better definition of what these laws are wanting to say. Unfortunately for the DeSantis administration and for his campaign, do not look good for him, for the campaign, as he is campaigning across America to show that he is a capable leader of all of America. And here in Florida, we have the receipts. As a liberal, we have receipts to show that he's not a capable leader for all of America.
And
And that
conservatives and conservatives.
DeSantis, he's going to have to call. He's going to be called out by his opponents on both the right and the left for his legislative record. I also know that his win in 2022 is not as special as some people think it is. If you kind of dig into the research, you'll see that there was nothing special about his election. That's my opinion, and I'm more than willing, and I've stated publicly why it wasn't special. So, on that note,
That's another one of those shows that we're going to have. You can't make this shit up. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, please share. Make sure the word gets out.
yes,
You have such a team of knowledge here. You got so many things to talk about, and we want to hear your opinion. So let's just put it out there, and you put it back. Give it back. So thank you very much.